Hey guys, it's Mallory here with All About Cats. In this week's video, we're going to be taking a look at an automatic cat feeder from a company called Petlibro. Before we get into the review of the Petlibro feeder and my experience using it, I want to give you a little bit of background on All About Cats and my experience using automatic feeders. So over the last few years, All About Cats has reviewed hundreds of different products. So we have published many reviews on our website, and you've probably also seen a lot of our reviews here on YouTube. Earlier this year, we released a video reviewing the best automatic cat feeders on the market. To do that video, I got the opportunity to try out a variety of feeders. So I was testing out everything from a gravity-based feeder that just lets the food fall down into a bowl to, a fully teched out smart feeder that connects to your smartphone. And in addition to the experience of using those feeders for myself, I got some pretty valuable insights just by reading the comments on that video. You guys have been really forthcoming about what you need out of an automatic feeder, what you're looking for, and what might be a deal breaker for you. So based on all of that experience, I feel like I have a pretty good understanding of what it takes to make a good automatic feeder and what we're looking for. And I'm keeping that all in mind when reviewing the Petlibro feeder. We're going to be going pretty in-depth in this video, so if you want to jump to any particular section and learn something specific about the Petlibro feeder, you can just use the video navigation to jump to something that interests you. Additionally, you're going to want to stay until the end of the video in order to find out how you can get 20% off of any Petlibro product. So the Petlibro automatic feeder is a pretty basic upright feeder, which means that it has this hopper that contains dry food and then automatically dispenses it into a bowl according to a schedule of your choosing. So you have 4 meal times that you can program with different portion sizes for each, and then it will automatically dispense your chosen amount of food according to that schedule. In addition to those basic features that would come with any upright feeder, the Petlibro also has a voice message feature. So you're able to record a 10-second voice clip that will be played every time the food is dispensed. So overall, it looks like the Petlibro feeder is somewhere in between a really basic unit that doesn't offer much in the way of customization or adjustments and a really fancy smart feeder. It offers a nice balance of simplicity and control. So when I received the Petlibro feeder, I pulled it out of the box and was immediately impressed by the way that it was packaged. So it had really nice, dense packing material that was placed really well around the feeder, and it came with this nice envelope containing a quick start guide, user manual, and some stickers. Overall, the presentation was really nice, and it seemed to keep the Petlibro kind of safe and secure during transport. When I pulled everything out of the box, I found that it contained the Petlibro feeder body, the detachable bowl, and a lid with a little compartment intended to contain a package of desiccant, also included, which is intended to help keep the food fresh. It also contained a power cord as well as an AC adapter so that you can plug it into the wall. And once I had taken everything out of the box, it was time to set it up. So compared to a lot of the other automatic feeders I've tried, I found that the setup of the Petlibro was surprisingly simple. I think this is due to a combination of a clearly written quick start guide and just the simplicity of the Petlibro's design. There really isn't that much to deal with here, and it's very easy to assemble. So you'll slide on the little bowl at the bottom. It just kind of snuggles into place. There's nothing really holding it in place. It just sits there. And then you're going to add the lid. Now, the Petlibro feeder's lid is equipped with this little cage or box where you're going to add a packet of desiccant, which will presumably help to keep the food fresh inside. I haven't seen this in any other automatic feeders, and I thought it was a pretty interesting touch. Now, once everything has been put together, you're going to want to plug it into a wall outlet, so you're going to plug in this power cord and then attach it to the AC adapter and plug it into your wall. The power cord measures about 56 inches or 142 centimeters long, so it's relatively long, but again, you'll have to decide whether or not this is long enough for you based on your home setup. In addition to the included power cord, you can also use the Petlibro with 3D batteries, which again are not included. So I added those in, and they would work as a backup in case of a power outage. Once it's assembled, the Petlibro feeder measures about 7.5 inches wide by 7.5 inches deep by 12 inches tall, and it weighs about 4 pounds and 12 ounces. Overall, the Petlibro feeder is relatively small compared to a lot of the other upright feeders on the market, many of which are primarily designed with dogs in mind. But I found that although the 4-liter capacity is a bit smaller than most of the feeders on the market, it was certainly enough to contain the food that my cats needed probably for the next month. So I was able to fit a 4.5-pound bag of kibble into the hopper, and that seems like a pretty generous amount for cats. In some respects, having this smaller capacity could be a really good thing. So our cats aren't eating nearly as much as dogs are. They don't need that dog-sized capacity. And having less food in the feeder at a time could mean that you'll have greater freshness over time. So in conjunction with that desiccant packet built into the lid, I think the small capacity could translate to fresher, crispier, tastier food, even by the time that you reach the bottom of the hopper. And then once everything was set up, it was time to program the feeder. So if you've tried out any automatic feeders in the past, you'll know that programming them can be a little bit tricky. So a lot of them have really unclear manuals to deal with. They also have really unclear displays. So you'll find yourself pressing a lot of different buttons, pressing different combinations of buttons. Sometimes it's just not all that clear what the buttons are supposed to do. I found that the Petlibro was a refreshing exception to that rule. It was really easy to set it up. Again, the user manual proved to be really helpful with this, and I just pressed a few buttons and got the time set, got a few different meals set up, and everything was in order. I also found that the buttons had a nice click, a nice punchiness to them, which was something that sets it apart from a lot of other automatic feeders that have kind of mushy buttons. So the Petlibro feeder allows you to program up to 4 different meal times. So you'll enter the time that you want it to dispense the food, and then you'll enter the amount of food that you want to come out at each feeding. So the Petlibro feeder, instead of measuring out your cat's meals in teaspoons or grams, measures it out in its own idea of a portion size. So 1 portion is equivalent to about 2.5 teaspoons of food. So you can program each meal to dispense anything between 1 and 9 portions. And then once I had set up my meal times, it was time to set up a voice message. Bussy, Forrest, it's time to eat. So once everything was set up and I had programmed the feeder, it was time to see how it actually worked. So my first impression was that the Petlibro feeder dispensed food really neatly and reliably. Every time a scheduled feeding came around, it started dispensing the food. There would be a little bit of a whirring and the food would clatter down into the bowl. Of course, I would also hear that 10-second voice message repeated twice for every feeding. Something that I've noticed after trying a few different automatic feeders is that it can be tricky to get the right bowl size for cats. A lot of these feeders are designed primarily with dogs in mind, and that means that their bowls are often really big and kind of intimidating for a cat to use. On the other hand, other feeders have very shallow bowls, and that means that when the food comes out, it'll just drop down and bounce off the bowl and end up on the floor. I found that the Petlibro was somewhere in the middle. It has a relatively deep bowl, but it's not so deep that it's uncomfortable for your cat to use, and it's not so shallow that the food is just going to bounce out. So because my cats were on a high moisture diet, I wasn't really using the Petlibro consistently as their primary source of food, but I did ask them to give it a try and kind of poke around and eat out of the bowl. As I mentioned earlier, it was easy for them to get the food out of the bowl, and they didn't seem disturbed by the noise of it running. I can't say that the voice message really helped at all. I think that they would be attracted to the sound of the food just coming down out of the feeder. But if your cat is really accustomed to hearing your voice and coming when called, there is a chance that this could be a training aid. Now, in terms of security, my experience was kind of mixed. So while a lot of other feeders will have notches or tabs that hold the lid onto the feeder, Not so with the Petlibro. It just kind of sits on top there. It's snug, but if your cat knocks over the feeder or is really determined to take that lid off, they certainly can, and they can certainly get into the food. I did a couple of different tests with knocking over the feeder and kind of messing around with the lid, and it's definitely not the most secure. I contacted Petlibro about this, and they said that they were aware of this issue and that they are working to come out with a feeder that has an improved design that makes it a little bit more secure. So that's promising news for people who are looking for a more secure feeder that will keep really determined cats out. So overall, I would say that its performance was perfectly good. Aside from that security concern, its performance was on par with any of the upright feeders I have used in the past, and there were no jams or malfunctions or any other issues that would really raise concerns. But before I really go into my overall impressions on the Petlibro, let's talk a little bit about how much it cost. In the Petlibro store, the 4-liter feeder that I'm reviewing here costs $69.99 with free shipping. If you opt for the 6-liter version of this feeder, the price is going to jump up to $79.99, again, with free shipping. Now, if you shop for it on Amazon, that price appears to be a little bit lower. It looks like you can get it for $59.99 with free shipping through Amazon Prime. But there is another way to get an even better deal on the Petlibro feeder, which is to use the All About Cats promo code to get 20% off of your order. So whether you're buying the feeder or any other product in the Petlibro store, you can get 20% off. So for the feeder I've reviewed here, that means your price would go down to $56, and that's a price I haven't seen anywhere else on the web. So if you are interested in getting this feeder, I would, of course, encourage you to go through the Petlibro store and use that All About Cats promo code. So after using the feeder, reading a number of customer reviews, and kind of studying what it has to offer, I would say that the Petlibro feeder is a good choice if you want a moderately sized, very cat-friendly unit that is extremely easy to program and use. Between its moderate size and the use of that desiccant pack in the lid, this feeder promises to keep your cat's food really fresh, and it also is really built with cats and small dogs in mind, which means that it's going to be really comfortable for your cat to eat from. And this places it in contrast with a lot of the other automatic feeders on the market, which very rarely get the bowl size just right. The feeder is also really human friendly. It's very easy to assemble and disassemble. It's also quite easy to program. Overall, it just has a lot of really nice features that make it very comfortable and easy and intuitive to use. So that's about it for our review of the Petlibro Automatic Cat Feeder. I hope that you found it helpful. If you're interested in learning more about this feeder, you can check out the links in the description. You'll find a link to the complete written version of this review, as well as links to the product both in the Petlibro store and on Amazon. Now, if you do decide to purchase the Petlibro feeder, I'd encourage you to use that All About Cats promo code in order to get 20% off of your order. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you found it helpful and that it helped you to make a decision about whether or not this Petlibro feeder could be a good choice for your cats and your home. If you found the video helpful and you're interested in more product reviews, buyer's guides, and information on all things cats, please go ahead and click that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you get the news every time we release a new video. Thank you so much for being a part of the All About Cats community, and I'll see you in the next video.